Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves, it says here on Spotify it's a single titled Unseen Forces. It looks like an EP to me. And if we switch over to here, we got 3 tracks: Pharaoh's Curse, Frankenstein, and Dawn of the Apocalypse. Now this is a band based in Brooklyn, New York. Before I forget, apparently these guys are looking for a new lead guitarist, so feel free to get in touch with them via their socials or through their Bandcamp or whatever to be able to learn more information about that if you want to do some shredding with them and you're in the area. But anyways, we're going to listen through this track from start to finish, or these tracks from start to finish. We're going to hear what we think. Starting with Pharaoh's Curse, let's go. Let's do it. What do we got? Interesting synth work here, nice oscillation, though very sort of sinister and foreboding. Interesting sort of overall vibe to it there. Some gritty kind of little clicks at the blow end or something like that. Yeah, it's got a kind of black metalish kind of vibe with some of those harmonies, eh? Good establishment of that theme though with those chords. It's got a very kind of 80s vibe with those snares and kicks and stuff like that, eh? I think they have been influenced by the Big Four from the 80s, you know, Metallica, Metal Death. Great vocal fry though on that on the mic there. There's a lot of clarity with the drums. They sound like they're sort of like sidechaining the guitars or something like that, or they're affecting the other parts of the arrangement from a production perspective. I can tell we're double tracking the vocals though, which is a smart idea here for a little bit extra width for the sound of the mix. Interesting tone of the toms as well. Again, they've got a nice reverb on them, as I can tell they've compressed them. I'm wondering if there's any sort of resonant frequencies in there. You know, the vocals absolutely set the vibe of the distorted guitar, these chugging riffs. Yeah, the vocals sound wider in the mix when you go into the double tracking than they do on than the actual rhythm guitars themselves. I'm wondering how they've recorded the rhythm guitar parts. I'm really hoping they've separately recorded those guitars, because sometimes what some people will do when they record guitar parts is they'll like do one take and they'll think that's a good take, and then they'll slap it on the other side of the stereo field. And the problem with that is that you get phasing issues, so the guitars actually sound smaller than they would otherwise. I don't know if that's what happened here, but it does sound like the guitars are in the center of the stereo field, so I'm wondering if that's occurred. Which is a shame, because you've got some really phenomenal rhythm work here. Really quick holding and picking here. Great choice for halftime here. That double kick's super tight. I mean, we clearly understand production. That was really cool how the vocals kind of went sort of shimmering out like that. And it's this cool story that's being told about, you know, suffering the Pharaoh's curse, being brought down into dust and everything like that. I like the vibe of it, you know. The intensity matches the themes. Sick. Nice to have some blast beats in here. I wasn't expecting that. But the snares are absolutely sort of... they're dominating guitars in the mix. It's great that we go between those sort of normal and half-time parts, you know, in terms of the groove and percussion and rhythms. Nice few little artificial harmonics in there as well. Huge Metallica 80s for late 80s vibes here, or mid 80s vibes. I mean, this is thrash metal after all, they were. I know there's lots of thrash metal bands, don't get me wrong. It's nice for a refrain back to the rhythm guitar, so that's kind of dope. There's a real resonance in the woo part of the frequency spectrum, and I know that might not be especially helpful considering that we've just released this. Like this is out now. You know, this music's out now. It's very difficult to take it back, but I'm hearing some resonance in the low mids that I think are kind of suffocating some of the other elements of the mix. But very visceral imagery, you know, dying on your knees afraid. Really cool concepts to sing about. Great galloping to finish with. Great choice. Great choice of drum groove there. Oh, big finish. Cool. I'll be right back and then we'll continue. So it was nice to start with Pharaoh's Curse. We're going to listen to Frankenstein next. See if it's a similar vibe or a separate one. Ah, we've got the Foley there. That's a good start, having a bit of Foley there, you know. It's nice to go between the Phrygian mode and the flat fifth on that upper power chord. That's a cool way of doing things. Big chugs. It's an interesting position to pan the, yeah, that's making me check my headphones because, like, it's an interesting position to have, like, the floor tom on the left. Usually you have the floor tom on the right, but I suppose if we're looking at it from a live perspective, that would make sense. You know, if the listener's like a live band kind of thing, you know? Nice hi-hat work. Yeah, we have got it flipped, I think. So we are trying to have it more like a live band performance because we're panning alone. Great clarity of the cymbal parts though there, you know. I could actually hear them going between the bell and the reds. Does that mean we had a separate microphone on the right cymbals? Still sounds like those guitars in the middle stereo field. So very violent Frankenstein's monster, you know? Not misunderstood. I think it's a cool direction to go in. I mean, it makes sense. You've talked about the Pharaoh's Curse. It'd be kind of weird for the song about Frankenstein to be soft and fluffy, wouldn't it? Not very metal. The Pantera-esque squeals are great. I'll go between got more of those side pan chants. That's cool. The visceral growl is fantastic. But we're clearly recording on the guitar on that side or that side. So is it that simply when we have the guitars, it must be a phasing issue because when we have the guitar by himself, you know, they sound like they're on that side, but when they're together, they sound like they're in the center. Music's great. You know, I'm liking the palm muting on the zeros. The kill 'em all lead lines are, you know, they make sense. Oh, great job. We're using a harmonizer on that lead. Very saucy, isn't it? Really speaks of a sense of despair and dread. And the triplet groover contrasts with the 8th and 16th on the percussion we've had so far, along with the whole notes on the little guitar parts. Rhythm motif. I mean, I know you guys know this, but I'm just following along. Like you can hear what's happening. You know? Great job. Yeah, really great, great energy from the vocalist there, the singer. Really matches the vibe of the track. The accompaniment works well with the space that's provided within it. You know, it's not too busy even with the lead parts when they come in. I kind of like the guitar tone a little bit more in this one than Pharaoh's Curse. Ah, classy work with the fade out there. Nice work, Grimoire. Oh, that was a very sassy drum fill there as well. You know, definitely we've got ourselves musicians who are clearly competent with their instruments. They know how to play them and get the most out of them, and there's very rarely a note out of place. Anything there is purely, any complaints there are, in terms of the performance, are purely subjective. But yeah, we're making our way through Unseen Forces. We've just got Dawn of the Apocalypse now. I don't usually review tracks over 7 minutes, but it's nice to be checking out a few of those today. Oh, that bass coming in. It's gorgeous. Great combination of those with the natural harmonics on the guitar and the bells. Is it because they have one guitarist, but then they had them pan to the sides heavily, that I usually have the guitar in the center and then on the sides? Is this gonna be literally like an instrumental, or are we gonna put some? I mean, I don't mind personally. I'm happy, depending on how they develop and continue it with the leads. It'd be cool if they threw another instrument at this point. Like, again, they don't have to. They don't have to, but it'd be cool if we had, like, I don't know, like a synthesizer. Like, we had some synthesizers, I think, initially with that Pharaoh's Curse. If it wasn't just some flanging or whatever with the guitar parts. Okay, change your groove, change your pace, change your tempo. Smart move. Again, great work with those little fiddly bits there. It's great. It's so grandiose here. I love how we're putting these extra vocal effects layers on this hook section. Our build there was stunning. It was consistent, had a bit of tension there, you know. And again, it's a great contrast to what we had initially, where things are a little bit more slower, more morose. This is more forward and a little bit more aggressive. wondering how they've treated those guitars in relation to those drums, because this isn't me sort of going on about the panning anymore. It's literally just that sometimes the guitars and the drums sound really good together, and other times those drums really flash forward. If they got like a compressor on the kick, if they got a 6 to 10, is the compressor the reason for a low mid resonance? Great energy there, charisma. And you need it to sell this kind of story, you know? It's as ethereal and kind of spooky. You know, it's great for like spooky month, October, you know? I mean, you guys will see this in November. I think this is releasing November the 4th, so yeah. Oh no, I'm confusing it for something else. No, ignore that. This is already out, obviously, because I'm listening through it. I like the fact we're bringing it down. Semblance of dynamic range. It's nice to hear the bass more clearly in this one as well, you know? Really nicely EQ'd and filtered. With animosity there with that harmony there. Big one. Yeah. Ooh, spooky. I think the shredders, the shred's been put into a good place. Allowing that slow build there with that lead melody and introduce the lead guitar to come into this was a smart move. Another lead section. Very squelchy tone there. What are they using for that? Are you using a tuba screamer or like a booster, or is it like a wah pedal kind of thing or something like that? Very honky tone. Is that like just a pickup position or something? Great work with those unison bends. Are those clean guitars louder than the distorted ones? They sound a little bit more full than what we had previously. I'm not sure because it's the filtering or the EQing on those rhythms. Yeah, okay. Alright, so I was just about to play some Slayer, which I think is fitting considering the type of music we were listening for, you know? Because I can definitely hear those influences again, like the Big Four from the 80s, as well as other ones from around that time period, as well as some more sort of modern stuff. But this is effectively my conclusion of the single/EP from Grimoire, titled Unseen Forces. My understanding is that this is basically a representation of their work over the last couple of years. And again, I have to be honest with you. I think the stories that are in each of these tracks are great. You know, the Pharaoh's Curse is a cool thing to sing about the concept of like, you know, crumbling to dust and everything like that, coming across something you should not sort of mess with, you know, that forbidden kind of realm, the line. You know, I think that's a really cool thing to discuss. And then we've also got Frankenstein, which is of course based off of Frankenstein's monster, except you're an actual killing machine and you're literally going out and, you know, there's that there. And then you've got Dawn of the Apocalypse, which I assume is actually about, you know, from what I understood or what I heard, because sometimes it was difficult to understand what was being sung or growled. It was more about the way the world is going to turn and stuff like that, and how things are going to crap and stuff like that, and how you need to prepare for it. I could be wrong though. I mean, the stories that are being told throughout those 3 tracks though were compelling and really, really intriguing. I think it works well for the type of music that they're making, and the vocals, the way they did the vocals, suited the overall the stories really, really well. I think that we definitely sold it. We sold the story really well. We had great technique. The kind of growly, kind of visceral sort of raw vocals there, or the vocal fry, didn't sound like it was too forced. They sounded comfortable between their chest and their head voice. I'm not sure how much head voice there was there, because most of it was in this area here, and hopefully not too much of it from the throat, because we don't want to screw up vocal cords. But no, they sounded like they really know what they were doing. It's difficult to get a tone like that without being experienced and polished, so kudos to them for that tone there. Very authentic to the genre. And we had some compelling melodies in there as well. I don't really have any massive complaints about it. Like the crowd chants as well on the sides of the stereo field were dope. How they kind of did a call and response between the main vocals in the center and that. It was cool stuff. The motif behind each of these tracks, I mean, you know, for Pharaoh's Curse, Frankenstein, and Dawn of the Apocalypse, they had a similar kind of tone, that kind of thrashy metal vibe with the palm mutes, power chords, and the chugs and the gallops on the drums, and the really shreddy solos and everything like that, and the several different distinct sort of chord progressions and bass lines and such, because you had that verse. Sometimes you had a verse bridge chorus, often you had like a verse chorus with some instrumental parts or some solo kind of flashy bits, and then some interludes, and then some refrains back to the original motif at the start. And Dawn of the Apocalypse, I think, had like an A, and then obviously the A section quickly turned to a B section, where just the rest of the song actually evolved from there. And I think it's really creative. I think that they used, I think that the riffs involved with these songs met the story well, sounded like it would be appropriate for like stuff like, I don't know, a curse or like horror film kind of stuff, combined with anger and aggression and frustration and fear and that kind of stuff. It's a smart choices there, and the force behind it as well made a lot of sense. And again, the freneticism of it, how kind of fiddly some of those quick solos were, just the chaos there was cool as well, along with some of those really intricate little 16th or triplet drum fills that were done there, even at that, especially at that tempo, you know, because some of it was quite quick. Then those blast beats as well. There's a lot of range and stuff to appreciate, and I think that's testament as well to their skill as instrumentalists. Like the guitar solos were tight, the rhythm parts were fantastic as well. The drums were recorded well. I don't have any issues with the way they did their thing. It sounded like they actually played the kit, and I really value that, because a lot of people will sample or program drums nowadays. I think if you can play the drums, well, it just makes it easier to do like live stuff as well, which is, as I mentioned, I think at the start of the review, they're based in Brooklyn, NY, New York, and they're looking for a lead guitarist. So if you're interested, please do go get in contact with Grimoire via their various social medias, and I think you can probably get in touch with them via like the Bandcamp page or something like that. But yeah, definitely get in touch with them about that if you're interested in jamming with these guys, because they have talent and they clearly know what they're doing. I mean, like, to make these 7.5-minute tracks compelling the whole way through is very difficult. It's not an easy thing to expect someone to listen through these tracks from start to finish if they're like a casual listener. But I think that they put enough in there for people that are familiar with the genre and who enjoy it to be able to sort of vibe and nod their head along to it and kind of groove to it. And I think that these tracks are like a slow burner as well. The more time you spend with them, the more time you understand the story and stuff like that. It'd be fantastic. I think that there's a lot of potential for this, and I mean that genuinely. You know, like, I think that the combination of from a compositional perspective, having like different tempos for different parts and going between those power chords to those really colorful harmonies and lead melodies, and just create, and it is also like the foley, the bits of like at the start with like little bits of fuzz and synthy parts, and the Frankenstein sort of thunder vibe at the beginning of the Frankenstein song, you know, the stormy night. It's those little things which show we just know a bit more than just how to write a song. We know how to create a mood, And that's cool as well. It's important again for longer pieces because you need to get people invested and expect the movie and not just a song. I think in regards to what Grimoire were trying to do, outside of the technicality, the shreddy bits and the techniques and the overall sort of tritonal harmonies and just the distinct kind of unsettling nature of it all, the only thing I'd comment on is just the production. I think that, you know, while there was a great amount of dynamic range, while the vocals were recorded well, and I think that for the most part there was a great tone to the instruments in the mix, there was some things in there that I'm unsure about. One, of course, as I've talked about for quite a bit of the review, I think is the panning of the guitars, and I think the last time I'll mention it is just I'm wondering if they were double tracked. If they weren't, I think for future releases it will be very important to do so, to record the tracks individually as opposed to, this is if they haven't done that. If they have done this, then it just the guitars are sounding a bit weird. There's some phasing issues, I think. Or maybe we just wanted to have the one guitar in the center, which is fine, but the problem with having the one guitar in the center of the stereo field is that it's in a similar position to the vocals, and so you have them arguing with each other. It's also where the kick is. So if the kick is sidechaining, you've got the guitar in the center field being sidechained, so you just get boom, 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 you know what I mean? I'm not just saying that they necessarily sidechain the guitar, but it certainly seemed to me like there was something not quite right there. And it's a shame, because I think that if the guitars had been wider in the mix, they would have been a bit more heavy, a little bit bigger. It would have matched the width of the cymbal hits. Like, you had the wide panned rides and the hi-hats and stuff like that as well. We needed it all to be wide, especially when you had like the vocals panned like with the crowd chants and the sides. If you had the guitars there as well, it just would have been absolutely flawless, I think. Because that would have also allowed you more room to sort of deal with like resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum and the stereo field. Because I think there were some low mids that were there that were kind of suffocating some of the bass parts. Like, I think the Dawn of the Apocalypse was better mixed and mastered than like Frankenstein and Pharaoh's Curse. I think that could just be a time and experience thing with how they actually recorded those takes. It's just things like the tom sounds. Like, I could hear the attack of the hit, but I couldn't necessarily hear the end part of the resonance. You just got a doof. But it's like a little soft patter. It was a weird situation there, and I think that's just making sure there aren't any resonant frequencies in the different instruments by using like a visual EQ and like looking for those little peaks and kind of going up, down a dB, you know, putting the Q to like 1 or 2 or something like that and kind of sorting them out, you know. But again, that's not to take away what they've done here, and they could also be happy with the tone of these tracks if they're wanting, and some people will argue that being too sort of militant about the EQing is sterilizing it. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think there's a lot of metal out there that still sounds a bit sort of rough around the edges, but you can hear the parts distinctly and they slam you, and it's good. It's just finding that balance, I suppose. But yeah, aside from those comments about that and maybe some of the instruments lacking a little bit of power and the sound of them, just I think so those resonant frequencies, there was definitely compression on that kick. You know, that drum kit, should I say. You know, the cymbals sound like they're a little bit compressed. I'm not sure if that's just a bus on it or something like that. Usually if you have a compressor on a drum bus, you typically don't want to go past 1.3 because you're already typically putting compression on the individual kick and snare tracks anyways. If you compress cymbals too much, they become boxy and it kind of sounds like it's been smothered and suffocated, which isn't necessarily a good time for anyone. But that was like a minor thing. That's just me being pedantic. The overall, the track was nice and loud without too much pumping otherwise. The vocals sounded a little bit quiet in the mix, but that could just be these headphones, or maybe it's because the amount of reverb, because there was a lot of reverb on those instruments and those vocal parts as well. But I could tell that they're headed in the right direction. Overall, I'm happy with this review, because it's effectively my review of Grimoire and their single/EP Unseen Forces. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go check out their various social medias and their Spotify page, and they've also got Bandcamp and stuff like that. And stay cool. And stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.